What's up? Hey, today we're talking mind-blowing home workout myths because we're coming up on my anniversary of almost 1 year not being to the gym. For context, I live in Canada. Last year, 2020, gyms closed around February, March. I don't remember exactly when. They reopened for a little bit, but it was weird. Then they closed back down. So ever since then, I have been on a home fitness quest to figure out how to get gym results without the gym. And by without the gym, I mean truly without the gym. I literally work out with a 15-pound set of dumbbells. I don't have racks, plates, barbells, or weights. None of that. I actually released a video on my decision to quit the gym, not go back to gyms when they reopen. I will link either somewhere up here or down in the description box below. But even more fun, around this time last year, I actually released a myth-busting video similar to this, talking about home workouts. And while I won't say I completely disagree with what I said then, I have learned a lot since then and what actually works, not just based on the science and theory, but based on personal experience, because science is all about how you apply it. So today I'm going to update you on what I learned, share the new findings with you. But before we get into it, I want to let you know that the follow-up to my most popular guide yet, the Full Body Fit Guide, is finally here and ready to go. Full Body Fit 2.0 picks up exactly where we left off. We've got 4 more weeks of full body workouts, 30 to 40 minutes each, 3 times per week, staying active in between. They're all in follow along format. So if you've seen my workouts on the Team Plans channel, if you've done some of my HIIT workouts or whatever other workouts I have on this channel, just like that, press play. I am there every step of the way. All you need is a couple sets of dumbbells. So lighter set of weights, heavier set of weights, and you will be good to go. So to celebrate the launch, we have got a launch special going on, whether you want to grab the Full Body Fit 2.0 guide on its own or bundle up and save. We've got all sorts of stuff that I will link in the description box down below. Otherwise, if you're ready to get started, make sure to shoot me a thumbs up and let's get into it. Myth number 1, you can't build strength at home. You may have heard of the term progressive overload. If not, it essentially describes doing more over time. You'll often hear people in the weightlifting space use this term to describe how to build strength. In short, you lift more weight over time. Makes enough sense. However, if you are stuck at home without a home gym, progressive overload goes out the window? Yes and no, kind of depends on the direction you go. What you need to know is that progressive overload is not a strength specific term. It literally just means doing more over time. You could apply the same concept to running, cycling, any number of other activities. And I think this is where some of the confusion comes in, because weightlifting is not always with the goal of building strength. You could lift weight and include weightlifting as part of your program for any number of goals. And so when we apply the concept of progressive overload to just weightlifting in general, doing more could mean lifting more weight, doing more reps, doing more sets, moving with more speed, doing more work and less rest. Think of any aspect of your workout that if you did more of would make your workout more challenging, which is all good and well. However, in challenging your body in different ways, that's going to lead to different results. For example, a piece of advice I saw going around the start of shutdowns, a piece of advice I even gave in my last myth busting video is that if you don't have more weight, do more reps. Do enough reps that you even reach a point of temporary failure. We'll talk about failure training later in this video, but what you need to know is that ultra high rep training is not going to provide the stimulus needed to build strength. Muscle, maybe. Strength, no. So back to the drawing board. By definition, strength describes the ability to exert force to overcome resistance. When you think about it, a weight like a dumbbell or a barbell is really just a convenient format for delivering a predetermined force. For example, my dog weighs 30 pounds. I have 2 15-pound dumbbells, so together they weigh 30 pounds. The key difference is that the weight distribution and design of a dumbbell is easier to exercise with as compared to a dog. However, if I performed the same exercise with my dog versus dumbbells, I would in theory have to overcome the same resistance and have the same strength. I'm not recommending you use your dog as a dumbbell. What I'm getting at is that your body does not recognize whether you are resisting a dog, a dumbbell, a barbell, a cable, a machine, or any other equipment that you can think of. Your body responds to force. I have seen people this past year get incredibly creative with pouring concrete, filling backpacks with books, using bags of rice. Even further proof, before 2020, look up strongman competitions on YouTube. These people have incredible feats of strength and they literally train with rocks, like boulders, really heavy rocks. So if you're willing to get creative with weight, you can definitely build strength. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if I don't want to get creative with the weight? Can I build strength with less weight? I'm so glad you asked, because last year I started with a lot of creative solutions. I did the gallon jugs, the cans, things of this nature, and I didn't love it. So can we build strength with less weight? Yes. Don't hate me, 2 + 2 is still going to equal 4, but a 20-pound weight will not always exert 20 pounds of force. The moment you start moving that weight, the force required to resist it will change. Think about it like this. If you go to the gym, or you used to go to the gym, you could perform the same exercise with the same weight on a different piece of equipment, and it may feel more or less challenging. So take, for example, a bicep curl. You could do a dumbbell curl, a cable curl, or a machine curl, and chances are each of those is going to feel a little bit different. The reason for this comes down to how the weight or external force moves throughout the range of motion, and as a result, the changing forces your muscles must exert in order to resist this. This changing of forces is often described using the strength and resistance profiles, where a strength profile describes how much force your muscles can exert relative to different joint angles, and a resistance profile describes how much force the weight provides relative to different joint angles. We could really nerd out on this stuff, but what the heck? Why are we looking at this? Because exercise mechanics matter. Exercise mechanics describe how your joints, muscles, and external forces come together to influence how a movement is performed and the stimulus it provides. And so now, knowing this information, assuming that the only way to build strength is by progressing the weight or external force, is ignoring that we have 2 other variables to manipulate: joints and muscles. Fancy lingo for if you don't have more weight, you can manipulate the exercise to make it more difficult. Going back to high school physics, force equals mass times acceleration. When it comes to lifting, we can think of the dumbbell as mass and gravity as acceleration. Gravity is always accelerating straight down, and so the resulting force is always straight down. Putting this into practice, standing with dumbbells on your shoulders is similar to standing and existing as a human. We've just added some weight. However, when we start to move, we experience gravity a bit differently, and this downward force turns into an external moment at multiple joints. An external moment is calculated by multiplying the force by the horizontal distance between the force and the joint. So what does this mean? Your muscles must resist an internal moment greater than this in order to lift the weight. So again, we have 2 variables here. Force is the force exerted by your muscles, and distance is the distance of the muscle attachment to the joint. We can't change our muscle attachments, that's literally where your muscle attaches to the bone, but we can change the position of the weight relative to our joints, thereby changing the force that our muscles must exert. Long story short, exercise variations. You can vary your grip, your stance, elevating or lowering your lower body, elevating or lowering your upper body. There are any number of changes that you can make to alter the mechanics of the exercise, increase the external moment, thereby requiring a larger internal moment and force generated by your muscles, building strength with less weight. This is a concept often used in calisthenics style training. This past year, I've experimented with and taken inspiration from a lot of calisthenics type moves, adding weight to some of them, not adding weight to others because they're just really challenging, and I still have so far to go. Plus, an unexpected benefit I have found with working out in this way is that it forces me to be very honest about where my weak points are. Many of these exercises require good mobility, good stability, a strong foundation of core strength and control. They really force you to be honest with and bring up your weak points if you want to keep getting stronger. Of course, there are limitations to this. If you are an elite powerlifter, somebody squatting 2 to 3 times your body weight, and that is important to you, this is not that. So I think it's important to be honest about your goals. Why are you trying to build strength? How far are you trying to get on your strength journey? If you're just looking to build everyday strength, feel more functional, feel fitter, feel stronger in your everyday life, you can build a great foundation of strength at home. However, if there is a part of you that's hung up on hitting a certain number in the gym, then just be honest about that. Either way, it's okay, but I think we have to be honest with ourselves before dismissing home workouts. Myth number 3, you can't build muscle at home. I feel like we've already started addressing this, but like I said earlier, challenging yourself in different ways will lead to different results. With muscle building, things are a little bit more complex as there are 3 proposed mechanisms for how this works. The first is mechanical tension. This describes the same process we talked about for building strength. When muscle fibers shorten or lengthen in response to force, it leads to active muscle tension. The second mechanism is metabolic stress. This describes the effect of metabolite buildup on muscle fibers. Metabolite, think things like lactate. These can build up with any moderate to higher intensity activity. And then our third mechanism is muscle damage, which describes damage to your muscle. It's exactly as it sounds and is often accompanied by delayed onset muscle soreness. However, this theory is now over 10 years old and its accuracy has come into question due to new research. Muscle damage in particular, as it has been found that muscle repair and muscle building are 2 separate processes. So knowing this new information, we should be wary in applying muscle damage as a standalone training technique. Zeroing in on where the research is at now, a 2017 meta-analysis showed that weight training with light loads to failure can produce similar muscle growth to weight training with heavy loads. Very interesting. Okay, now while the mechanisms behind metabolic stress are still not fully understood and are like there's a little bit of drama there in the research space, a few key things happen when you train to failure. The first is increased motor unit recruitment. Okay, what that means is that we're able to access those higher threshold muscle fibers. If you've ever heard of fast twitch muscle fibers, those are typically only unlocked by lifting really heavy weights. But because when we train to failure, we've already pre-fatigued the lower threshold fibers, we now have access to those higher threshold ones. The second thing that we see is a decreased rep speed. Now this matters because the slower the contraction of the muscle, the more force it's able to produce. And in order to stimulate muscle growth, we must be beyond a certain threshold of force. So if you're working out at home and you're looking to maximize muscle growth with minimal equipment, do exactly what we talked about in myths 1 and 2. I'll write the same things that work for building strength are going to work for building muscle because mechanical tension is a mechanism of muscle growth. Things that work for building muscle, not always going to help you with strength, but at least we know if we're building strength, it's probably going to help us build muscle too. Plus, based on what we just discussed, incorporate failure training into your routine. A technique we're introducing in Full Body Fit 2 are triple mechanical drop sets. So drop sets are an intensity technique you may have heard of before that basically describe taking an exercise to the point of temporary failure, dropping the exercise difficulty in some way, and then repeating this process however many times is prescribed. So the most common type of drop set that you'll often see performed in the gym is called a loaded drop set that involves at each drop doing the same exercise but decreasing the amount of weight you're using. This is a technique we used in Full Body Fit 1, whereas a mechanical drop set, as the name implies, involves adjusting the mechanics of the exercise. So as we discussed in myth number 2, by adjusting the mechanics of an exercise, you can make it more or less difficult. In a drop set, we're obviously adjusting the mechanics to make the exercise less difficult as we drop because we're keeping with the same weight, so we're making it easier by adjusting the exercise. Another benefit of mechanical drop sets is that because we're adjusting the exercises to be easier, as you fatigue, this is going to help to reduce the risk of injury. Final myth. Home workouts don't work. Hopefully, if you are still with me through this whole heckin' journey we've been on this video, so long video. If you are still with me, hopefully you realize that this is wrong. I've thrown a lot of science, a lot of information at you, enough information to make your head feel like it is going to explode. So don't worry, no more science coming in this section, but I want to look at this through a slightly different lens. None of what I shared today is new information. Maybe, some of that stuff on the mechanisms of muscle growth is newer, but it's not brand new. It's not like yesterday this information was released. This information, this research has been in plain sight. These training techniques have been available. Yet the belief that home workouts are somehow a less valid form of fitness is rampant. I will remind you, not long ago, this style of training was en vogue, okay? For my non-French speaking friends, in style. This is what the cool girls were doing. If you hate the gym and love home workouts, why should you feel less fit for that? If you like the gym, like you really enjoy going to the gym, I kind of quite liked the gym before, they all closed, but you're curious about home workouts, why should you feel like you can't fit in because of that? That's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned something. I hope maybe this opened your mind a little bit, maybe made you look at home workouts a little bit differently. So if you enjoyed today's video, definitely shoot me a thumbs up and comment down below if you have been doing home workouts, something that you wish you knew, or if you've been skeptical about home workouts, something that you now know, or maybe you're looking at a little bit differently. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, as I mentioned at the start of this video, Full Body Fit 2.0, she's here, she's ready to go. So I'll put all the details on that, on the launch specials, all that jazz in the description box down below. I would love for you to grab it. I would love to work out with you. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.